Welcome to the Today's Leader podcast. Building tomorrow's best leaders, today.
Way to go, guys. Way to go. Keep it going. Good job, guys. All right, Paul, I see you. All right, finish. Let's go.
Great job, guys.
Hey there, it's Coach Curl here, and welcome to Monday Mentoring on the Today's Leader podcast, Building Tomorrow's Best Leaders Today. Today, I'm going to share a quick story about a pivotal time in my career, in my business career. Now, it was a number of years back, but it was certainly a pivotal time for me. Now, at the beginning of the year, a leader took me aside and we sat down and we set goals. We set goals. Now, this leader actually wasn't even my boss. It was the boss of my boss. So he took the opportunity, he saw something in me and took the time and we set some goals. Now, he was really clear around what the goals should look like. They needed to be really clear, have performance measures on them, which were a stretch and a challenge, let's be honest, and had to be reached within a set time frame. Importantly, but we both committed to the goal setting process, and part of that commitment was that there was the opportunity for me to actually start moving my career or take the next step in my career journey. It wasn't a guarantee, of course, because there are so many things outside of a leader's control when it comes to succession planning. But ultimately, I knew very clearly that if I hit these performance measures, I was in line to take the next step in my career. Now, the many leaders I work with, I'm actually surprised when a leader sits down and tells me their goals or tells me what they're working through. So whether it's either for themselves or as part of their ongoing development and succession planning. Unfortunately, I find that it's quite rare for leaders, especially those in the middle of an organization, to actually set really clear goals, to be really specific around what it is that they're going to achieve, and importantly, how they're going to do it. But I often get asked, why should I set goals when there's so many variables outside of our control? So, but which I'm not going to say is not true. There are so many things outside of our control as leaders in our career, in the corporate environment. But setting and achieving goals is a key part for any successful individual, and particularly so for any successful organization. Goals are important, and here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, goals can really help us focus on what's important. You know, when we know what it is that we want to achieve and we can prioritize that or set our priorities in and around that, it's amazing how much noise that surround us each and every day can disappear because we're really clear on the priorities of what it is that our goals are. And of course, our goals in a career perspective need to align with the organization's goals. So we can understand that if we prioritize that development, we can actually remove some of the noise and we can focus. Goals also give us a sense of accomplishment. So every time we take a step closer, we actually feel good about ourselves. Now, the ultimate aim is to achieve the goal, of course. But as we've talked about so many times, success lies in the journey and about taking those hits along the way, those positive hits that we're getting closer to our goal. It keeps us motivated and it keeps us working hard. Goals help us stay on track. It's easy to get sidetracked. As I mentioned, the noise, the distractions that we face in the modern world are immense. Of course they are. But it keeps us on track. It keeps us away from the distractions. It stops us from being sidetracked. Because we've got our specific targets that we want to aim for, having goals keeps us focused and moving forward. And the last positive or the last reason today is because goals help us measure the progress that we're making and the progress that an organization is making. Tracking our progress towards goals allows us to see how far we've actually come and how much more to go. So it gives us that, once again, there's a sense of accomplishment sitting in there as we're measuring our goals towards the ultimate journey, whatever that may look like for you. So in my story, the goals that were set, which I initially thought were quite challenging, but a process that I committed to, were ultimately exceeded. And I will never forget the phone call that I took from the leader that I sat down and set goals with to let me know that I'd just been promoted into my next step. It was one of the best feelings that I've had, and I was lucky that I was with my wife at the time, because honestly, there was a couple of tears. I'd worked really, really hard to achieve those goals. There was 100% commitment, and it was the best day of my life when a leader who I'd set the goals with returned that commitment and returned, as I said, it wasn't a guarantee, but he delivered what he certainly could, and I took the next step in my journey. It was a great moment for me, and personally highlighted just how important it is for us to be setting goals. So this week, take some time, think about the goals. If you've got goals that you've set, think about reviewing them, reflecting on them, where you're at in the journey of those goals. And if you haven't got goals, maybe it's time to start putting some of that down on paper. Just remember to be really clear. Make sure you put in a performance standard of what it is that you want to achieve, and you put a deadline on them, because there's a lot of key requirements in relation to goals, but I find that they're the most important. Be very specific, be very clear around not just the goal, but what it is that you're going to do to achieve it. Put in some performance measures that help you track your progress, and then ultimately you want a deadline on them that's going to keep you honest and going to keep you urgent. Goal setting. Success comes to people off the back of goal setting. Never forget that. So if you're not where you need to be, have a look at your goals. Hey, I'm Tony. Thanks for tuning in to Monday Mentoring. I'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.